Hey guys, so Ken Block's company, Hoonigan, who everyone's probably heard about, has filed for bankruptcy earlier this week to the tune of $1.75 billion. All the news outlets, from the financial news outlets to our aftermarket industry, is buzzing about it. But that's really just clickbait to get you guys to look at it, the word Hoonigan. But the real company behind all of this is Wheel Pros. I'm going to explain who Wheel Pros is, the real insider information, what it means to this industry, and we're going to run this intro and I'll jump right into it for you guys. So guys, if you don't know who I am, I'm the CEO of Mod Bargains. I've been doing this now for well over 20 years, involved heavily in this industry, involved with guys from Wheel Pros, talk to guys over there. So I'm going to give you guys a different perspective. I know there's a lot of videos, there's a lot of articles going around, finance articles and so forth, and the big catchphrase is obviously Hoonigan. Hoonigan is the name that you guys, most people know, and it's actually a company that was purchased. Now, what does that mean? It's really, the real company here who is filing for bankruptcy is Wheel Pros, and the bankruptcy amount is $1.75 billion in debt. B with $1 billion. So not millions, we're talking about billions here. So it's a huge amount of money. They amassed a 1.2 billion, but after everything else, all their loans, the total comes out to 1.75 billion. Why is it Hoonigan? Why are we all saying Hoonigan? Well guys, first off, let me explain it. In 2021, Wheel Pros purchased Hoonigan, one of the companies that they purchased. They bought 27 other companies, all right? They bought Hoonigan because of the marketing potential, because just like in this video, hopefully, it made you guys click on it because you know their name. So they wanted to be known as that name. Let me explain it. It's as if Nike has purchased a bunch of names, or they have Air Jordan, right? They call them Air Jordans, and they don't call them just Nikes anymore. They just call them Air Jordans. It's the same idea where they basically say, hey, this company is now going to be called Air Jordan. So they use that, they're using Hoonigan as that name because it's a more widely known name in the industry. What does this all mean? That means they went into Chapter 11. Chapter 11 does not mean that they've gone into, they're bankrupt and they're no longer operating. These companies are going to continue to operate. And what companies are under Wheel Pros besides Hoonigan? And Hoonigan doesn't really produce that much in sales and money if you guys really think about it. It's t-shirts, hats, maybe some stickers, some YouTube video revenue, but it's not going to be a huge profit center. It is more of a known name. I'm going to list up on the screen here so you can see all the different companies, but I'm going to name some of them because there are some major ones, and I'll explain them to you guys and what I've seen of it happening. So, for example, some of the 27 companies are TSW Wheels, which was purchased for $400 million. If you've been following the channel, you'll remember the video on Holley. We can put that one up. If you haven't been following, Dynan was purchased by Holley. APR was purchased by Holley. What was going on there? You know, there was also the purchase of BBS by KW. There's been a lot of conglomerization in this industry, and that happened during COVID when a lot of money was available and free money at a very cheap price to purchase it. So private equities, what they do, this was a private equity play. They came into Wheel Pros, have all their money and bought Wheel Pros up, and then decided, hey, I'm going to buy a bunch of companies. Why would companies do this? Well, basically you can package this company that's a smaller company now into a much higher revenue number and hope to either dominate a sector, which is what they were going for here. When I name all the companies, you're going to understand that they were trying to dominate the sector, meaning that they were trying to basically take control of the entire wheel market. So they were going to own 90+% of the wheel market, and if anybody wanted to get wheels, you'd have to get it through Wheel Pros. So basically they just take complete control of it. Or with a higher revenue number, what they do is they resell that company for a higher multiplier. That's what a lot of these companies do. Now that was done by Clear Lake Capital. So if you're feeling bad about it, about the $1.75 billion, don't. Clear Lake has about $72 billion in funds that they are managing and buying up stuff, and this isn't their first rodeo. I'm sure they've had other bad deals. This one is obviously not looking like a good deal right now at the moment, but we'll see what comes out after in a few years. So Clear Lake Capital, one of the big private equities out there, bought them up, and then they started buying up all the different additional companies to try to make the biggest wheel company. So Hoonigan was just one of their marketing arms that they wanted to purchase. They even bought other components that they felt match up correctly with them. So TSW Wheels was one of them, 400 million. If you don't know about TSW Wheels, they were at Discount Tire, Sears, all kinds of places. TSW Wheels just being available everywhere, making wheels like Black Rhino, Bayron wheels in the European market, Coventry, just a bunch of different wheels. They also bought American Racing Wheels, Asanti, Dub, Foose, Fuel. Now, in the off-road, Fuel is huge. KMC Wheels, another huge one. Niche Wheels, Motegi Wheels, Rotiform Wheels. A lot of different wheel companies. XD Wheels, one of the biggest in the off-road. So basically, they took over all the major ones that they could think of to control the market. And if you were at SEMA last year, you probably didn't see many wheel companies out there because they didn't show up at SEMA. Wheel Pros didn't show up and didn't display these wheel companies. Even though, so if you pay attention to SEMA, you'll see it's shrinking in the wheel area. And I think for this year, there's even going to be less wheel companies out there, while everything else just continues on as normal because they haven't been all bought up. Nobody bought up all the suspension companies, for example. So they also bought ProComp Suspension, Morimoto Lights, TerraFlex, Smittybilt. These are a lot of companies. So now maybe you can understand, how does Hoonigan have a debt of 1.2 billion or 1.75 billion in total? How does that happen? It's because of all these 27 companies encompassing. So a lot of the information out there is not really explaining it to you guys, but how did they get there? What happened is really what's important, And who's the money owed to? Well, the money is owed to, the top three are, Wilmington Trust Investment, another investment group. They're owed almost 93 million. Nitto Tires is owed 18 million, so sorry to them. A Hong Kong firm is owed almost 11 million. I think it's 10.7 million. So a lot of people are owed money, but they're going to go through this Chapter 11, and then they're going to start paying off their expenses, is what's the plan here. No one's losing their jobs. Everyone is continuing on forward. That's what's going to happen. But what does it mean in this industry? What happened here? What happened to Wheel Pros? So in 2022, right after all these purchases, and right as this COVID is just ending and the whole market is just shifting. If you remember, I made a video a couple years ago saying how there was a shortage of demand and demand was just skyrocketing. Well, in 2022, things started changing over. And I didn't talk about that. But what happened was sales went down. Sales went down for Wheel Pros in particular about 24.4%. So, pretty big amount. But what happened in 2023 was even more dramatic. It was 77% down. Was it just the industry in total that went down? No. So on my side of it was the hesitancy to spend more money, to have diminishing. Basically, they didn't buy up more inventory to sell. That was one problem. So we started seeing brands like TSW. TSW was doing $400 million annual in sales. And what we started seeing was, on our side, right, as a retailer who's selling these wheels, and we buy from the distributor. This is the distributor. We all have to buy. So whether you buy from Mod Bargains or you buy from other places, which we hope you buy from us, what we ended up seeing is, hey, we can't access these Bayron wheels. We're not seeing many Bayron wheels on the market. We're not seeing many of these TSW. Popular wheels that were around were all of a sudden not being ordered up again. There was lack of inventory. So they just didn't buy more inventory because I think as soon as sales stopped, then management said, hey, we need to make some profits. And I think they just didn't have the funds to go and reinvest into it. Maybe the parent company did not give them additional funds, but that's what ended up happening. So they invested into certain projects that they felt more strongly in. They've obviously refined, but they've toned down their amount of distributors. They streamlined. They a lot of employee turnover, obviously, because of whatever streamline methods management went. When you create one consolidatory group, everything is about trying to manage everything correctly. They built a new system, which is nice. There are better systems in place. There's better ways for everyone to get. There's improvements. I'm not going to say there isn't. There are improvements for retailers and so forth. But the problem comes in is how fast does it happen and how quickly it can go, right? So investing in the systems, but what I mean by systems is the ordering systems for our website to connect to their inventory, or those are called APIs and so forth. So all these things that happened were great, but at the same time, the lack of inventory and the lack of ability to sales caused that to sell, the sales to drop. So multiple combinations there, lack of advertising. I don't think they used Hoonigan in the best light. I think they could have done more with their advertising, but the goal was to become the #1 distributor. So when we thought about wheels, you think, hey, I need to go buy at Wheel Pros. So if I'm a retailer, I got to go buy at Wheel Pros. And that's what ended up happening. So sales have dropped down. Now the bigger picture here is really, and then after, of course, in the last 9 months, they've now filed for bankruptcy because sales continue to go down. The industry has been going down. If anyone's saying that they're not, that's just a lie. Things have slowed down. We're not in the COVID period. The economy, the recession has hit everybody. Everything has slowed down. That's just what happens, you know. Not everybody has disposable income to spend on this stuff, and a lot of these things are not necessary, right? We don't need these parts for our cars. Let's just spell it out. They are fun. They are some parts we might need, right, if we're fixing our car and so forth, but not everything is necessary. So these are nice luxuries to have. So my perspective on it is, you got to look at it, this is a sign of what's happening to the marketplace. Now, if you overextend yourself, like what happened here at Wheel Pros, you end up going into bankruptcy, Chapter 11, but you can get yourself out, you can restructure. I'm sure Clear Lake is going to be bringing in some of their guys, additional guys to, hey, how do we restructure this quickly and move it faster? Do I think they know what they're doing? No, I don't. I think they've done some poor mistakes, and I think you guys can put it into the comments if you've been looking for certain wheels. Certain wheels that I thought were very popular, all of a sudden were discontinued. That made no sense to us as a retailer. But certain ones that are popular for them, they continue to sell. They have them on the shelf. They have to figure out, you know, getting their best sellers to going forward with it. They own it now. They're not as nimble when you're a bigger company, and those are problems that happen. But they're trying to be a nimble company. They're trying to operate like a nimble company. They just have to figure out how to weather the storm of this economy, because if things pick up again, well, they're the only ones in town. What this has done, though, and this is the other side of it, is the small guys in this industry, the guys like Sportline and there's other guys like that, have had a chance to climb, to rise up, because retailers need to find a different alternative. Sometimes you don't want to deal with just one company. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. And well, that's when there's smart business owners, I guess it happens. But the majority of time, businesses, the Amazons, the goal is to become like an Amazon where you can just dominate everything and be the monopoly of it all. But it doesn't work that way. Thank you to capitalism and free market, we have that ability, and you have the ability for companies to become nimble. So it'll be interesting to see. It doesn't mean it's the end of anything. It's not the end of Hoonigan. They'll still be producing. The people there are still working there, you know. It's not the end of other companies. It's just that you got to understand, this is actually just shining the light on what's happening in the industry, where things have slowed down a bit and things will come back. But to say that we're not in a recession and so forth, that's just a lie. I'd obviously love to see your guys' comments and get your own opinion. If you haven't subscribed, I really would appreciate it. It does help us out if you share it and so forth. But this is my opinion. I'm not trying to badmouth. I've talked to some of the guys over at Wheel Pros. Everything is moving along the same. They are actually very positive on everything moving forward. They have a lot of projects that they're working on. So when I say Wheel Pros, I mean all the different companies that are going on there. So I don't think anything bad is happening. I think it's just blown out of proportion because of the big dollar amount. Well, not blown out of proportion. They're doing poorly. But they do have to turn it around. And that's it. That's what it means for our industry. Anyway, guys, I will see you on the next one. Thanks again.